the issue of exporting the theft of money from Kenya's borders to India. As you know, this is why this deal is being externalized. It's been externalized so that the amount of money that is divided is not divided here under the Controller and Auditor General, but divided by the accountants of ADANI. I wanted to talk about this concept of corruption, which is actually very well perfected by William Ruto, who trained very well under the Kanu regime. You know, corruption is, or what you call government corruption, is budgeted. So ordinarily what you do is you get a need for a project, you give it a monetary figure, you put it in the budget through the treasury, the ministry advertises a tender, you shortlist a person that you have identified, then you award the tender, they go ahead and do the job, and then you pay. That is normally the way in which looting ordinarily happens in the normal course of business in government. Budgeted corruption. As corruption has become more and more difficult to hide and has taken longer and longer because of the public's appetite for scrutiny and public participation, looters and crooks and fraudsters have had to improve their ability to heist and to steal. And most of the avenues left are now external. If you look at the SGR, for example, a lot of the looting of the SGR is external. A lot of the money stolen there is through insurance. People in Kenya do not actually know, because it is not something you ordinarily think about in corruption. How much insurance is paid per year on SGR? How much insurance is paid in terms of reinsuring the risk of SGR to Munich Re or Lloyd's of London or wherever else? These are sophisticated upper class ways of corruption. And what is scary about the Jomo Kenyatta heist under the ADANI group is the sophisticated nature of it, that it is seeking not just a strategic asset, but an asset that is earning dollars and euros that cannot be accounted for to the naked eye, that its revenues are invisible. People forget that over 200 tons of horticulture products are exported every day from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and those are legal horticultural products. What about those that are not legal, that go through aircrafts worldwide? I mean, if you go to the US-Mexico border, the narcotic trade is bigger than the economy of Africa together, because the narcotics that cross the border of the US and Mexico are in the billions of dollars. So if you have an unregulated Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, don't look at the land, and as Kibe Senior had said, my friend in the struggle for many years, yes, there is land and they can sell the land, but there are also sophisticated things that they have calculated that are beyond the naked eye. That is just cargo. When you look at why duty-free shops and all these things have been a problem in Kenya ever since the time of Kamlesh Patni and the World Duty-Free Sagas, it was because that is revenue that is recurrent and that is not accountable, because you cannot count it. You cannot be able to quantify it. You just put it in the pocket. As it becomes more and more difficult in Kenya to steal in national assets because of public scrutiny. Now, I want to say some issues that Mweru was raising as to why Lawyer Njeru and I have decided to go to the court for a constitutional interpretation. As Kibe will tell you, the LSK went for a judicial review mechanism that is going to question the propriety of the deal between the Kenya Airports Authority and ADANI, and whether or not it's a good deal, whether it was done properly, whether or not it stands the test of a public, award in the normal provisions of the law. But we, in our constitutional reference, are rising on the mountaintop of public concern, public interest in saying that the sovereignty of the people of Kenya, including public participation, is a prerequisite on all things, including gems like Jomo Kenyatta International Airport that are so important to the total citizenry of Kenya that it cannot be even entered into any discussion without the participation of the public and the consent thereof. And our constitutional reference is asking the court to say that everything else is a nullity in the same way they said the BBI was a nullity because the BBI did not originate from the common person. And it will be interesting to see whether the court will bite as to our demand that the sovereignty of the people is important in governance. Because if the sovereignty of the people through public participation, as was vested through the Bomas negotiations in the public, if that is upheld, it means that the public can continue. And that's why I had invited Morara today to come and tell us what he's doing going around the country, because if public scrutiny on public projects continues, it means that stealing public assets becomes difficult because the public are not involved. And if the public are involved, then that theft can be mitigated or stopped. And therefore, for me, the question here will be whether the courts will say that the public must be involved. And if the public say that they are not involved, and if they feel that the threshold has not been met, whether or not that contract can stand. And as Kibe has said, if it was to stand through authoritarianism, it will be a nullity later by succeeding governments. Now, where are we now in terms of the country and in terms of this ADANI issue? I think because of the online petition and because of the Kenyans coming up every day on this issue, it is becoming very murky for ADANI and William Ruto to close this deal, simply because the fine print of the deal would require what I am saying, the issue of exporting the theft of money from Kenya's borders to India. As you know, this is why this deal is being externalized. It's been externalized so that the amount of money that is divided is not divided here under the Controller and Auditor General, but divided by the accountants of ADANI. I don't want to speak anything beyond there, but to say that I'm putting a challenge to my brother Kibe to join with Ndegwa and Njiro, because we need not just a review of the ADANI deal. We need a constitutional pronouncement by the courts that this deal is null and void ab initio because it does not, benefit the public, and in fact, it negates public interest. I want to stop there for now.